Welcome to Kings of Kimuras, your one-stop podcast for everything from mats to the stars. Join us as we dive into the heart of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, explore the thrills of MMA, and groove to the beats of music. But that's not all. We're also venturing into the unknown, discussing aliens and the mysteries of the cosmos. And of course, we'll be shooting the breeze, sharing stories, and laughs along the way. Get ready for a wild ride from a universe of topics. Strap in and prepare to explore the world of BJJ, MMA, music, aliens, and more. Let's roll.
All right, guys, welcome to Kings of Kimura, Season 2, Episode 2. It's hard to believe it's already been a week since the last one that we did, but
yeah,
at least we're getting into that rhythm again. Hopefully we stay in that for the next other 9 episodes after this, or 8 episodes after this, so that we're keeping everything nice and steady and flowing.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to keep that workflow going, pumping out these episodes. It's fun to come on here and just talk and, give our opinions on stuff.
Exactly. Go back over the week, This weekend I guess this last week and leading into today are the Gi Worlds.
Gi Worlds.
There's so many. There are some good matches, but they're few and far between, I feel like. A majority of what I'm seeing on this is that there's a lot of faking and juking, and then both guys make a grip and then sit, and I feel like,
yeah,
I was definitely a guard player, but I was a guy that would either jump guard or explosively pull guard or set it up off of some kind of takedown fake. And now I feel like everybody, their number one goal is just to be on the bottom so that they can sweep.
Yeah, for sure. It's all strategy now, and you're just not getting a lot of guys out there who are willing to go out and fight. Mika Galvao is the one that I like to watch.
Yeah.
But I know that Tynan Dalpra got DQ'd. He was playing this De La Hiva, and he was putting pressure on the knee, kind of like a reaping kind of motion.
Yeah.
But it's not a traditional reap, obviously, because he was going from the outside and then in. But some theatrics there also helped Francisco Lowe.
Yeah, it is a position that is illegal, where he's reaping with one leg and then controlling that same leg that he's reaping at the end of the lever, which is IBJJF rule. It's is illegal. But having said that, I also feel like Francisco Lowe played the rules a little bit. And if Hoffa Mendez or whoever runs the Mendez brother page posted about it. And there was, I don't know if you watched the fight, but I went back and I watched it, and there was an eye poke early on where it looked like Francisco intentionally ducked his head to get poked in the eye. I can't imagine anybody intentionally doing that on purpose, but I don't put anything past anybody,
Absolutely. Especially if you're trying to beat a guy like Tynan Dalpra.
Yeah.
You kind of have to take every advantage that you can, because he's so good. He's so technically skilled that if you just try to go in with I'm just gonna play jiu-jitsu with this guy. No, I don't think so, man. He just crushes everybody who tries that. So, guys are gonna try to find different ways to win.
Yeah, and I have to think that the rule will probably come under review. Normally it takes a big name having something done like this to them in order for them to change rules. And the thing that I think about the most every time I think about a rule change was the Keenan Cornelius versus Diego Gamonel. Worlds, don't give me the line. I want to say it's maybe 2012, 2013, somewhere in there, where you could do single leg X. And we all know the rule, right? Single leg X, you can't bring your foot past the hip line. The second you do that, you're called for reaping. Well, back in this time, the guy that's having the single leg X done to him from the standing position could force your foot inside, forcing you to reap him, stopping the match and disqualifying you. And that's what happened to Keenan. And
oh my gosh,
the very next year, they changed the ruling on that, and at that time Keenan was with Atos. So, we know how much pull like Atos and AOJ have with the IBJJF. So I would imagine that you're going to hear some kind of rule change.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think yes, it is technically a reap from that outside position, but I think you should be able to reap from single leg X too. Even if you can't do heel hooks, you can still, you see plenty of guys, Nogi, they throw in that reap and then they control the secondary leg and they're not even really worried about a heel hook on that primary leg. They're just trying to secure that position. And so ultimately it's on you as the defensive guy. Oh, it's a dangerous move. Well, just turn with it. Cub Swanson popped his own knee in a no-gi match because of the way that he turned, and he tried to face the leg and then he ended up popping his own knee. So it's not in my opinion, there is more grip with the gi, but I think it should go for both. You should be able to reap in both.
Yeah, I feel like that a lot of times the reason you see the injury is one, either guys are trying to resist that because they know the rule. If the guy reaps them, they're disqualified.
Yeah, they do one of these,
yeah.
Come on,
but secondly, it's it's kind of a fault, I feel like, of whoever is running their training of, hey, man, you got to protect yourself at all times. I know for us, we allow reaps, and we allow heel hooks, but how often do you see guys get injured in our training with heel hooks or reaps? I don't think I've ever seen.
I don't think, in the time that I've been training at Corvo, the only times I've seen guys get hurt is because they did it to themselves. They were in a position and they turned the wrong way real fast and they ended up hurting themselves. But even we tell our guys too, if you're the offensive player and you have somebody in this position and you feel like they're going to turn the wrong way, just let it go and be like, hey, dude, don't do that again. You're going to.
Yeah, both people have an obligation there, right? If you're the one applying the lock or the hold, you have to make sure that your partner understands where they're at, and sometimes these guys don't know, and I feel like even higher belts, we have guys come in sometimes from other gyms, and we had a visitor this last weekend. The guy told me they don't train any heel hooks because they're worried about getting injured and then being out for an extended period of time. I go, well, why don't you just tap? It's well, we don't really know what is a tap and what isn't. I'm like, if a guy gets your heel, if he has a hold on it, you probably should either hand fight or tap, and in fact, do both really, hand fight and then tap by saying tap instead of letting go and tapping with your hand. Yeah,
of course. And man, it's just so crazy to me that there's gyms out there that don't try to educate their guys on it. I think it's just because it's had such a negative stigma for so long. But I mean, if there's going to be any rule change when it comes to reaping, it's going to be because a guy like Tynan got disqualified for quote unquote reaping. It's not even a traditional reap, but it's putting pressure from the outside in on the knee and also controlling the bottom of the lever. So it's still considered
and that's
reaping.
An AOJ move. I've seen Cole do that position as well. I've seen Hoffa do that position. So, the only option you have as the defender there is to let your knee get popped or expose your back for the berimbolo. And that's most people will go that route because they don't want their knee blown out, right? But in this scenario, I think he anticipated that and went ahead and, allowed some tweak on the knee. I don't think it was that bad because afterwards he got up and he kind of walked away.
Yeah, but if it's bad, you're not exactly walking away without a little limp there.
Yeah, it kind of, how heated the Mendez brothers were reminded me of your match that you had at Nogi Worlds.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It wasn't against a Mendez guy, but he was being coached by Hoffa, and he did everything that he could to slow the pace of the match down. I went back and I rewatched it today because I'm like, man, I really want to see is this the pot calling the kettle black? And I think it was a case of that because the guy faked an eye poke, and then later on in the match he faked a knee injury when you were taking his back. And I've never seen somebody get their knee hurt from somebody else taking their back.
Right. It's how does your knee just magically hurts now, And
then he went and did the absolute, right, after that?
Yeah. And in the match too, he actually did poke me in the eye. I was trying to work from bottom, and he actually got me. and I kind of squinted, and the ref tried to stop the match, and I was like, nope, get out of the way. Like,
yeah, I think sometimes guys do stuff like that to think they're going to slow you down or get in your head, and when it doesn't affect you that way, it's almost like you see their energy meters kind of fade,
Right.
And that was another thing that I was going to say in that match of like when you're on the bottom, he was trying to like shove you in the face as hard as he could to get a reaction.
All good, bro.
Yeah.
I grew up with a Hispanic mom, dude. Come on.
I think you have to stay calm in those situations too. You cannot let your emotions get the best of you in matches. Because that's when you make mistakes.
Yeah, that's when you make some like catastrophic mistakes there. You can get fired up for a match. You can get excited, but you want to limit the emotions that you bring into the match. Mm-hmm. It's very like matter of fact for me when I compete. I'm going out there. I'm going to try and work my game, and I know people are going to try to do different things to try to get me off of it. They're going to be pushing on the head hard, especially in the finals of Worlds, brown belt. These guys are going to be physical. Yeah. So you can't go out there and just expect everybody to just play the game along with you, and like get lullabied into your positions. So I expected that. I was like, and at ADCC, they can, I don't think that it's IBJJF legal, but they can do that one-handed choke, like the C grip on the throat, and like some people don't train for that. And when it starts happening to them, it's not like it's getting them tired, but it's getting them pissed off. They're like, man, this guy's framing in my throat, like almost putting choking pressure. I need to move from here. And then they'll be more willing to make mistakes because they're going to be angry, going in there with anger.
Yeah, and like you said, if you don't train for something like that, it kind of throw you off your game. If you're not training wrestling with guys that are like throwing hard collar ties, sometimes that like throws guys off too, especially these guys that pull guard a lot.
Yeah, I love seeing those matches where a guy will slap on a hard collar tie and then the other guy will like club him back. Because like in jiu-jitsu, the guys will like stand straight up, In wrestling, when you see that, it's like, all right, these guys really like know what they're clubbing hard for a purpose. Like, they're trying to get in the other guy's head to a certain degree, but they're also trying to get them to step forward and get them to overextend. With jiu-jitsu guys, it's like they're just trying to hit you. Yeah. Like hit you with like a bad punch almost. So it's like,
and a lot of times they're like hitting that collar tie off of their lead leg too, right? So it's like they don't even realize that they're not in a position to defend a takedown.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why like good wrestlers can take advantage of that. And then I know we have some wrestlers who come in and train at Corvo on the open mats on the weekend. And one thing I've noticed is I know they have a very vast array of like takedowns they like, but they only use a select few because not every takedown in wrestling is going to work that well. Like a fireman's carry could easily get you put in a crucifix if you don't set it up correctly and get that push-pull going. Same thing with like low shots. If you shoot a low single, you're down on the mat, you're kind of in like a turtle position. Yes, you have the leg, but you could get put in a reverse triangle. Lots of different things can happen. Yeah. So it's like limiting those takedown options because of the submission threat, and wrestlers just aren't used to that usually.
So let's talk about that CJI. I know we like covered it a little bit last week.
It's just getting crazier and crazier each week. I feel
Since then, there's been like more people added to the roster. I know that Miragali was calling out Mason Fowler and Roberto, and then both of those guys end up in the CJI,
yeah, exactly.
I feel like we're not going to see any people from New Wave or Renzo Gracie of any kind in that event.
I agree. I just couldn't see. I mean, who would they even try to grab? Badoni? I don't see Badoni going in and doing that.
I think it's probably like one of those things that's forbidden,
Yeah, like you're not competing in this event.
Because I know Mo has like done a lot for those guys. And I'm kind of, the more people that I see pulled away from ADCC, I'm more bummed out, honestly, because I wanted to see this be like the biggest event ever. And I completely understand the reasoning behind it of, people needing to make more money. And I agree with that, man. Like some of these events, like Fight to Win for sure, like you make $100 if you sold tickets. You used to get paid to win. And then you got like things like Submission Hunter Pro where you don't get paid unless you submit the guy. You know how hard that is at like black belt to tap a guy sometimes?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
I feel like a lot of these organizations are not about helping the athletes. They're about promoting their own business and making money from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a little bit of a double-sided coin because I know like a lot of grapplers are very flaky, and like how many times have you seen a tournament get announced? And like I'm guilty of this too. I've had to pull out of some tournaments for like personal reasons and stuff, but I see some other grapplers, they pull out seemingly for like no reason at all, and then they're competing on something else. Maybe they're getting paid more or something, but I know that there's a lot of grapplers out there that aren't exactly the most reliable when it comes to like actually committing to a date and being like, yes, I am going to compete on this day for you guys,
Yeah, but I think that also goes back to the money thing because most competitors are not making money as coaches.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They're definitely not business owners. So not everybody is in that same scenario where they're like making money off of jiu-jitsu other than competing. And then, making $300 a year, $500 a year is like very hard to sustain any kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hear like Fight Pass, they're getting paid anywhere from like $10,000 to, six figures for competing in one match. Like that really seems like it's, it's only sustainable because the UFC is involved.
Yeah.
And I hope that it continues that route too, because the more times that they have grappling events, the more that they promote it, the better chance it is that it increases the revenue for everybody involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And like with the Fight Pass grappling, I know they have a lot of UFC fighters on there, and I gotta think it's because a lot of these guys from their actual UFC fights aren't even making that much after taxes, after paying their coaches, after everything is all said and done. They're not walking away with much, and so they don't have to do it, but it's a good way to make some good extra money taking these grappling matches.
Something that Craig was saying on the Joe Rogan podcast recently is that he likes to take those Fight Pass fights against UFC fighters because he knows that they're drug tested.
Yeah.
And like he is able to do like all kinds of steroids and peptides, leading up to the event. And these guys are still in the USADA testing pool. So, I think he kind of saw that a little bit with that Ethan Krelliston against
Jordan Levitt.
Yeah. Jordan is a UFC guy, and like he's not like a physical specimen, but then you look at Ethan and like clearly on some gear preparing for ADCC, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
He was able to kind of like body him even though he was a smaller guy.
Yeah, for sure. Jordan's definitely, I would say, I'd be very surprised if that guy was on gear.
Yeah.
He did look a bit like heavier than Ethan. Like he looked a bit bigger size wise, but in terms of like lean muscle, yeah, Ethan was just like, he's always been a specimen. He's always been so super lean, but especially in the past few years, he's definitely added some size along with that. And, Ever Titan does sponsor Craig Jones, so he's probably in there with him too.
Yeah, I feel like that's I didn't even consider that as like being such a huge advantage, like in jiu-jitsu, like almost everybody is on something. If you fight a guy, like he's either currently on something or has taken something. And then when you go to an event like that where like clearly one guy has to be tested and the other one is not,
Yeah, for sure. And I know like there's definitely some guys in the UFC that have figured out workarounds or like, but with the random testing, it's difficult to do that, But USADA was really lenient with a lot of the fighters. There was like a 4-strike rule. I remember is like so let's say you scheduled a drug test at your gym, and then you just kind of conveniently are not there, or you say you're out of town, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's a strike. And you get like 3 of them. And then on the 4th one, if you miss, then you get suspended. But it's like, dude, how many times are some of these guys getting tested? I know Yuri Prohaska gets tested like all the time. Yeah. But there's other guys like Paulo Costa or like think of some other guys who look absolutely jacked that don't get tested that much. Yeah. So it's like, what? Like, we're not getting even tested all at the same rate. Some people get tested more than others. Yeah,
I know we had some of those people training with us at one point that were in the UFC, and there was a couple of times where it was like the same old couple, like in their 60s. I don't know if they were retired or what, but they were like doing the testing for all USADA athletes in DFW.
Oh my gosh.
And they would just like show up, and I'm like, "What's up? What are you here for?" And oh, we're here to test these people. And like, I don't know if they're coming in today. And like, well, they told us they were going to be here. I'm like, I mean, yeah, they say they have a schedule, but then like, I wonder if people are like, they know that they're going to be tested, so they're like, I just won't show up. Kind of like a John Jones thing, where they're like hiding under the cage, you know?
Right, for sure. I know they hunted down Cyborg though. He tried to leave after, what was it, Nogi Worlds?
Yeah.
A couple years ago, and they were like, nope, we're tracking you down. So they must have, been really pissed off at him or something.
I mean, I feel like you get close enough to that guy, you just like wave the test in the air, and it's gonna go positive
it's
for
gonna
everything,
like set on fire or something.
Yeah. I mean, I think that testing in the sport is one of those things that I don't really care for it one way or the other. I mean, I'm Masters, so like everybody at Masters does something.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the right choice is. Sure, I don't want to see people like wrecking their system by doing steroids too young. But at the same time, like combat sports really tears your body down. All sports tear your body down, but like combat sports in particular, because of how hard the training is. There's not really any other sport where you're like, every single day rolling super hard and tearing your body apart, and then having to also do strength and conditioning. I think of like NFL athletes, and when I watch some of those training camps, they're not training that hard.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I definitely know that a lot of those guys are on steroids.
Oh yeah. It's like a smell test, so
yeah.
The further that we go in time, the more the harder it's going to be to be able to test for steroids. Like they're just going to keep coming out with new stuff that's able to beat it. And I know that what was that guy's name? That Balco guy? Do you remember that stuff with Barry Bonds? Like,
oh yeah.
I can't remember what that guy's name was, but he was like, he had been originally a guy that tested people for steroids, and then he got contracted by Barry Bonds and these guys to basically like beat the test.
Oh man, super villain, dude.
Yeah, he was like, I don't know if he was giving injections, but I do remember he was like giving these guys like some type of drink that they would drink, and it would be like in their system and then out of it, and they were like able to beat a lot of the test.
That's crazy.
There's a whole documentary about that that's pretty interesting. The guy that did it is like involved. I just can't remember what his name was, but
yeah, I mean, there's always going to be, the problem is the testing is always going to be behind the drugs because there's more money in the drugs.
Sure.
Nobody wants to, like, if these athletes were really serious about anti-doping, they would give money to the anti-doping organizations, but they don't do that because at the end of the day, they know that it's probably going to end up hurting their sport because so many people do it, like, especially initially, like maybe over time it would get better and you'd see, like natural athletes go out there and compete. But at the same time, like some people want to see just two absolute behemoths go at it. There is definitely a market value for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I feel like that's maybe why the UFC got involved and has their own testing now, right? Is because it was definitely like wrecking some cards. They were like, have this amazing card put together, guy pops, he's out for a year, 2 years, whatever it might be. So now they brought it in-house, and I don't think they release like if somebody's popped, they don't release those results.
Yeah, I haven't like seen anybody that's failed a drug test and have it been public. You know, it's kind of one of those things like IBJJF. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that some athletes have tested positive, but nobody says anything, and they just kind of take a hiatus from the sport for a while. Wait, where'd that guy go? It's like, well, he got busted, but nobody ever said anything. So,
and then you have some guys, that were like multiple time champions and get caught, and like they just end up retiring altogether.
Yeah, and
we were like talking about who I'm talking about. We were talking about that guy's team earlier in the episode. So
yeah,
like he was a world beater, and then the guy like disappeared from the competition scene forever.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true. It happens.
Well, let's go ahead and take a quick break, and when we come back, we've got some more details about your event that you're going to over in England.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, we're back. So I wanted to give like a little update about your event that's going on in England. We are doing like a pre-sale rash guard shorts order that will hopefully have out soon for everybody to buy. It's based off of the Apollo Creed shorts from Rocky.
They look awesome, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Eager Ones and Edgar for putting that together, man. It looks awesome. I can't wait to rock it out
And
there.
he is our sponsor for this podcast too. Make sure you guys contact him if you need to make some custom rash guards or shorts for your gym. This guy's quick. He gets stuff back sometimes in like as short a time as a week. So that's like really unheard of. Most of the time these guys take like a month in order to get that custom gear done. But he's great. He's one of our students, trains hard, works hard, and I'm happy to support his business, and he supports us as well. So
Absolutely. Yeah, and like you were saying, it's based off the Apollo Creed shorts, so got the America theme.
Yeah.
It looks really cool, man.
And a percentage of that money that is off of those sales goes to help you travel over there to England for your event. Have you gotten any more updates about like any of the teams and stuff that are involved?
Not really. I was doing like a little researching on some of these guys, and it seems like a lot of them are kind of up and coming in like the UK grappling scene. So it's going to be really exciting. I'd say I'm on the come up here in America as well. So it's going to be good to go out there and mix it up with guys who are kind of on the same trajectory that I'm on, and get to test my skills against them. So
Yeah.
I just hope I don't have to fight any of those super big guys. There's a few like super heavyweights up in there. So,
But isn't it based off of like each guy fights only at their weight class? Or?
so the rule is you can. One guy can go multiple times,
Okay.
and it's the
So
first
they're
person.
quintet style.
Yeah, it's the first team to get 3 wins.
Okay.
So, if I go out there and get a quick sub on one guy, on maybe like their lighter guy, it'd be a good strategy to just keep me out there since
Yeah.
I'm already fresh, I'm already warm. Just keep me out there, and then, or me or Corbin or JB, like any one of us could, stay in there for more than one match. We're not going to be gassed after one go.
Yeah,
our cardio's too good.
I see some of those teams like on a quintet, they strategize where, like, let's say you go out there and you fight the first guy and you sub him, and then they send in their ultra heavyweight. Well, you take the guy to a draw, right? And that way both of you guys are out, and then your team still has 2 guys and they have 1.
Right, yeah, that's more like a strategy thing. I think they're trying to have it just like be constant action, because also the positions only score 1. So like if you get side control and then you go to mount, you only have 2 points now.
Yeah.
So they're definitely doing that to encourage more submissions and attacks and stuff like that. But still, my strategy going out there is like the Hodger Gracie strategy: get on top, stay on top, get good pins, advance position, and then get a sub.
Yeah.
It's like, it seems so simple, but obviously against high-level guys, it's like there's more nuance and depth to it. So, but that's what I've been working on. I've been working real hard. I've got a few events before that as well, so just helping me stay sharp and making sure I can go out there and give the best I can do.
Yeah. So the next event that we have here in Dallas is the Fight to Win, which is coming up this Friday, I think, right?
Yeah, it's the 8th. So is it Saturday?
So yeah, it's Saturday. Yeah,
Saturday.
that's right. Yeah. So we have a couple of guys on there. I don't know what's really going on with them, man. Like normally we get like 5-6 matches, and I feel like our normal people that get matches are not getting any offers at all.
Yeah, I think, you just start running out of guys locally, I think. You kind of start running out of matchups to make. And that's the unfortunate part about having a lot of events around the area is, there's so many events, but not enough, like the pool of competitors, especially as you go up through the belts, starts to dwindle a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but, even the guy that I'm fighting on Sub Hunter, I fought him on the last Fight to Win. So it's just going out there and getting more reps.
Yeah.
Both of us are going out there to get better, and I think that's just what it's about. Just go out there, get better, get more competitive experience and exposure, and then just move from there.
And that Submission Hunter Pro is like the following weekend or
It's 2 weekends.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's like first it's Fight to Win, and then it's ADCC, and then it's Submission Hunter Pro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they like pulled a quick one too, man. They bamboozled us. They were originally going to be in Plano, like 5 minutes from the gym. So I go, yeah, you guys sign up, let's do it. And then they decided to switch the venue to Arlington.
Yeah,
and
they said they just couldn't get the venue or something, and it's like, wait, I thought you guys already had it.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah, and for those of you guys that don't know, like that don't live here in Dallas, driving from Plano, Richardson area to Arlington is like you might as well drive to Austin. I feel like the traffic is horrible.
Yeah,
it's not a great place to travel to. You got to go through downtown Dallas, and anytime you go through downtown, like traffic is backed up.
and like people just drive the Texas drivers are notorious, especially. I feel like here in Dallas, like every weekend, I feel like I see people trying to race and then get into a crash, like 4-car crash. Like, dude, if you're going to crash your car because you're racing, at least try not to hit any other cars, please. Yeah. Just run your own car into the wall or wherever you're at, and like don't hit other cars, because then it becomes a whole mess on the highway, and now it goes from 4 lanes or 5 lanes to 2 lanes. And you're like, dude, what is going on over here?
Yeah, on the way here, coming down 14th, which is where the downtown Plano gym's located, there were 2 cars that were racing. It was like a pickup truck and SRT Challenger.
We're racing in a pickup truck, dude.
Well, it was like a lowered truck, and it was like he had definitely done some work to it. It wasn't just a stock truck, but it's like a 35, and they're doing like 70. Like they intentionally slowed down all of the traffic so that when they took off, they could like lead up. But they're racing towards downtown, towards the police station. It's like, how stupid can you be?
Yeah, dude, that's just so I don't understand. Like, I get it if you have a fast car, you kind of want to drive it fast, but like, for what reason? You're not getting a medal for it. You're burning gas. It's costing you money to burn that gasoline to race. So like, what's the point?
In my younger years, I had like sportier cars. I think if I think of like the most sporty car I ever had was probably a Subaru WRX. And it wasn't the STI model, but I had like done a lot of modifications to it. And I remember one day I was driving on the interstate, and I passed somebody on the shoulder. And I didn't pass just somebody. I passed like a whole work convoy of vehicles because I didn't want to slow down. And I realized like at that point, the risk that I'm taking is not only putting my life in jeopardy, but like all these other people. And it was within like a couple of days, I traded the vehicle in and went and bought like one of the H3s, like a super slow vehicle, couldn't even, I barely could go like 70 miles an hour in the thing. But and since then I've always been like, I don't need a vehicle. Like, 80 is the fastest I need to drive like on the freeway, because if you do live in Texas, I promise you, like if you're doing 75 miles an hour, you're going too slow.
You're getting passed.
So you have to like go with the flow of traffic. But I feel like anything higher than that is like just too dangerous. So the reaction time is like way too slow.
Yeah, for sure. And most people, like you said, their reaction time is like very minuscule.
Yeah.
They're going 110, and then they have plenty of time to react, but they're just too slow, and then they end up hitting somebody or something like that.
Man, one of my favorite interactions that I ever had with a student, well, not favorite, but like one of the funniest was we had this guy. He doesn't train with us anymore. He was moved here from California. And we're having this conversation after an early morning class. It's me, him, and one other person. I don't remember who it was. But he goes, man, the people here in Texas, like everybody drives horrible. And I go, really? He's like, yeah, man, in California, everybody drives like good. I'm like, I would think it's just the opposite.
Yeah.
And we talk for a little bit more, and then he gets in the car, and then he backs out of the parking spot. And then like the road out of the parking lot is probably, I don't know, maybe like 100 feet away. and he backs out of his parking lot and backs all the way 100 feet down into the road. And then backs up in the road and then pulls forward like after he's just told me how bad the drivers are here. I'm like, prime example of not understanding what a bad driver is there, bud.
Yeah. I think you're confusing it for fast drivers.
Yeah.
I think like when people are going fast, you kind of just have to like slow down and let them like, okay, if they're going to, be aggressive, you just let them be aggressive. Like, don't try and like slow down. Or I see like so many accidents. Yeah. So many accidents where people are going fast and then the person just like panics, and they like hit their brakes fast and then the person swerves. And it's like, bro, if you just keep going your same speed, the aggressive driver will hopefully go around you.
Or if you're able to move out of the way. I think the biggest thing that concerns me is that, because so many people do have firearms here, that let's say you brake check somebody and that person's already in a bad mood or whatever it may be. You don't know what is going on in their world. And then they decide to like pull up and fire a couple rounds in your vehicle.
Yeah, that could absolutely happen here. I saw one, this guy, I don't know what happened, but all you see is this car swerve, cut this dude off, brake check him. They stop. 2 dudes get out of the car and then they start hitting this dude's window. And you already know that if you're going to come up and hit somebody's window, you got to expect something to happen. Like, they're either going to step out or they're going to pull something out. And the guy pulled out his gun and shot the dude like 3 or 4 times. And you see him like kind of run and limp off. And then he ended up like dying from that, and his like girlfriend was in the car and stuff.
All because he was upset that like this car got ahead of him. I think I've seen that because like a red minivan or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's not worth it, man. Like I can't imagine like ever wanting to get in a fight with somebody on the freeway,
Yeah, that's so dumb. I've been flipped off a couple like that. I was driving back from the gym one day and I was driving just like normal and this dude swerved, cut me off and then flipped the bird at me. And I was like, oh, all right.
Well, you just don't know what's going through that person's mind or what they've dealt with that day, right? So it's like if you can just maintain your cool and not let that get underneath your skin, you're going to be all right.
Right. It's like my ego is not so big to where I see somebody flip me off and my immediate reaction is I need to like confront this person. Mm-hmm. Like I know what obviously I train every single day. So like I know what I'm capable of and why would I even have to use it if I can just keep it in my back pocket? And then if this guy tries to do something drastic, then I can pull it out. But like otherwise, it's just like water off my shoulder. I just don't care. I
remember hearing Eddie Bravo tell a story one time about how there was a purple belt that he had that would like intentionally get in street fights, where he would like road rage to get people to get out so he could fight them, and he would like choke them unconscious.
Oh my God.
And he had done like 3 or 4, and then one day he did it. He pulled a guy over, and they start scrapping, and the guy's like equally as good as him in jiu-jitsu.
Uh-oh.
And so they're like trading back and forth, and he said they went on for like 10 minutes or so, like punching and grappling, and then like at the end of it there wasn't a winner, and they just both agreed to like stop.
What?
This shook hands, got in the car, and drove off.
I'm sure they both realized at that point that you get out of your vehicle to fight somebody, you're taking a huge risk right away. Like if the person doesn't like pull out a gun, they might have some training. So it's
absolutely.
Like why would you even want to take that risk? It seems so silly and ego driven.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not worth it, man. If you feel like you need to fight people in the street, you need to go sign up for a jiu-jitsu gym.
Yeah.
That's going to be the key to you staying alive for a long amount of time.
Yeah, for sure. And getting your ego checked, which you probably desperately need.
Yeah. Well, man, I don't know if we have anything else to add on this episode. We covered quite a bit, and it just feels good to be back in that rhythm again.
For sure.
We'll continue on, and again, we're looking for sponsors. We're in the process of making a deal happen with a health clinic, but it's a long process. Apparently, it doesn't happen overnight. But if you guys have a business that you want to sponsor us or sponsor Dom individually as a competitor, we're always looking for stuff like that. You have anything to mention? Any sponsors or any?
Nope. Again, shout out to Eager Ones for making us that kit. I know also Fight Aesthetic, since JB's linked up with them, they're also making us a kit. It's gonna be like pink and blue. It's gonna look really cool. So we'll have a few kits that we can wear out there. Hopefully make it real deep and win the whole thing.
Yeah, that would be cool, man. Well, good luck on that. You still got a few more weeks of training. You guys tune in for the next episodes because we'll be covering some of the events that are taking place. So appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next one.
And that's a wrap for today's Kings of Kimuras episode. Thanks for joining us on this epic journey. Remember to keep training, stay curious, and always be ready for the next adventure. Until next time, keep your guards up and your mind